Clinton an issue of accountability and credibility. You have loaned your campaign $5 million. You and your husband file a joint return. You refuse to release that joint return, even though former President Clinton has had significant overseas business dealings. Your chief supporter here in Ohio, Governor Strickland, made releasing his opponent's tax return one of the primary issues of the campaign, saying repeatedly, accountability, transparency. If he's not releasing, his campaign said, his tax return, what is he hiding? We should question what's going on. Why won't you release your tax return so the voters of Ohio, Texas, Vermont, Rhode Island know exactly where you and your husband got your money, who might be in part bankrolling your campaign?
Well, the American people who support me are bankrolling my campaign. That's obvious. You can look and see the hundreds of thousands of contributions that I've gotten, and ever since I lent my campaign money, people have responded just so generously. I'm thrilled at so many people getting involved, and we're raising on average about $1 million a day on the internet. And if anybody's out there wants to contribute to be part of this campaign, just go to HillaryClinton.com, because that's who's funding my campaign. And I will release my tax returns. I have consistently said that.
Why not now?
Well, I will do it as others have done it upon becoming the nominee, or even earlier, Tim, because I have been as open as I can be. The public has 20 years of records from me, and I have very extensive filings with the Senate where
so before next Tuesday's primary?
Well, I can't get it together by then, but I will certainly work to get it together. I'm a little busy right now. I hardly have time to sleep, but I will certainly, work toward releasing, and we will get that done and in the public domain.
One other issue, you talk about releasing documents. On January 30th, the National Archives released 10,000 pages of your public schedule as First Lady. It's now in the custody of former President Clinton. Will you release that again during this primary season? You claim that 8 years of experience. Let the public know what you did, right, who you met with those 8 years.
Absolutely. I've urged that the process be as quick as possible. It's a cumbersome process set up by law. It doesn't just apply to us. It applies to everyone in our position. And I have urged that our end of it move as expeditiously as we can. Now, also, President Bush claims the right to look at anything that is released, and I would urge the Bush White House to move as quickly as possible.
But you had it for more than a month. Will you get it to him? Will you get it to the White House immediately?
As soon as we can, Tim. I've urged that, and I hope it will happen.
Senator Obama, one of the things in a campaign is that you have to react to unexpected developments. On Sunday, the headline in your hometown paper, Chicago Tribune, Louis Farrakhan backs Obama for president at Nation of Islam convention in Chicago. Do you accept the support of Louis Farrakhan?
I have been very clear in my denunciation of Minister Farrakhan's anti-Semitic comments. I think they are unacceptable and reprehensible. I did not solicit this support. He expressed pride in an African American who seems to be bringing the country together. I obviously can't censor him, but it is not support that I sought, and we're not doing anything, I assure you, formally or informally with Minister Farrakhan.
Do you reject his support?
Well, Tim, I can't say to somebody that he can't say that he thinks I'm a good guy. I have been very clear in my denunciations of him and his past statements, and I think that indicates to the American people what my stance is on those comments.
The problem some voters may have is, as you know, Reverend Farrakhan called Judaism gutter religion.
Tim, I think I am very familiar with his record, as are the American people. That's why I have consistently denounced it. This is not something new. This is something that I live in Chicago. He lives in Chicago. I've been very clear in terms of me believing that what he has said is reprehensible and inappropriate, and I have consistently distancing myself from him.
The title of one of your books, Audacity of Hope, you acknowledge you got from a sermon from Reverend Jeremiah Wright, the head of the Trinity United Church. He said that Louis Farrakhan epitomizes greatness. He said that he went to Libya in 1984 with Louis Farrakhan to visit with Muammar Gaddafi, and that when your political opponents found out about that, quote, your Jewish support would dry up quicker than a snowball in hell. What do you do to assure Jewish Americans that whether it's Farrakhan support or the activities of Reverend Jeremiah Wright, your pastor, you are consistent with issues regarding Israel and not in any way suggesting that Farrakhan epitomizes greatness?
Oh, Tim, I have some of the strongest support from the Jewish community in my hometown of Chicago and in this presidential campaign. And the reason is because I have been a stalwart friend of Israel's. I think they are one of our most important allies in the region, and I think that their security is sacrosanct, and that the United States is in a special relationship with them, as is true with my relationship with the Jewish community. And the reason that I have such strong support is because they know that not only would I not tolerate anti-Semitism in any form, but also because of the fact that what I want to do is rebuild what I consider to be a historic relationship between the African American community and the Jewish community. I would not be sitting here were it not for a whole host of Jewish Americans who supported the civil rights movement and helped to ensure that justice was served in the South. And that coalition has frayed over time around a whole host of issues. And part of my task in this process is making sure that those lines of communication and understanding are reopened. But the reason that I have such strong support in the Jewish community, and have historically, it was true in my U.S. Senate campaign and is true in this presidency, is because the people who know me best know that I consistently have not only befriended the Jewish community, not only have I been strong on Israel, but more importantly, I've been willing to speak out even when it's not comfortable. When I was, just last point I would make, when I was had the honor of giving a sermon at Ebenezer Baptist Church in conjunction with Martin Luther King's birthday in front of a large African American audience, I specifically spoke out against anti-Semitism within the African American community. And that's what gives people confidence that I will continue to do that when I'm president of the United States.
Jim, I just want to add something here, because I faced a similar situation when I ran for the Senate in 2000 in New York. And in New York, there are more than the two parties, Democratic and Republican. And one of the parties at that time, the Independence Party, was under the control of people who were anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, and I made it very clear that I did not want their support. I rejected it. I said that it would not be anything I would be comfortable with, and it looked as though I might pay a price for that. But I would not be associated with people who said such inflammatory and untrue charges against either Israel or Jewish people in our country. And, I was willing to take that stand, and, fortunately, the people of New York supported me and I won. But at the time, I thought it was more important to stand on principle and to reject the kind of conditions that went with support like that.
Are you suggesting Senator Obama's not standing on principle?
No, I'm just saying that you asked specifically if he would reject it. And there's a difference between denouncing and rejecting. And I think when it comes to this sort of, inflammatory, I have no doubt that everything that Barack just said is absolutely sincere. But I just think we've got to be even stronger. We cannot let anyone in any way say these things because of the implications that they have, which can be so far-reaching.
Tim, I have to say, I don't see a difference between denouncing and rejecting. There's no formal offer of help from Minister Farrakhan that would involve me rejecting it. But if the word reject, Senator Clinton feels is stronger than the word denounce, then I'm happy to concede the point. And I would reject and denounce.
Good.
Okay.
Excellent.
A rare audience outburst on the agreement over rejecting and renouncing. We're going to take advantage of this opportunity, take the second of our limited breaks. We'll be back live from Cleveland right after this.